I know you're very outspoken, so you get a lot of attention, you do great work, but was there any particular method that allowed you? Did you start as a partnership or did you merge? Or how did that all work
Oh,
out?
no, no. Dustin joined me about 16 years ago. How old's his son? 16 and a half years ago. So I was a big law. I've been a big law. I was a big law at Bryan Cave in Phoenix. I was at a place called here in Atlanta called Pal Goldstein, which became Bryan Cave a few years later. They came in and bought them. I was at Littler for a while. Dale Schwartz was my partner for a couple of years. But in 2003, I said, you know what? I'm not going to keep track of my time anymore. I don't want to
Were
be
you working
responsible.
immigration in these places or just general
All,
litigation?
all immigration, always immigration. Uh, and so I got the taste of big law. I know how big law operates. I know what solos are like because I did that for a little bit. I know how a small partnership works. So when I started the what is now Cook Baxter, uh, it was just me and four paralegals that I took with me from Littler, and we've grown the practice. You know, we have I think 10 lawyers and 15 or 20 paralegals. I forget. We got way too many. We got a lot of overhead, and but it's great because we have wonderful people working here. So we get to provide income and a lifestyle for wonderful people who in turn get to help wonderful people immigrate to America. And it's just really a blast. And we get to be involved in social justice issues, litigation on social justice issues. And it is the practice itself, while I don't love managing a law firm this size, I love managing a law firm this size. It's kind of the best of both worlds. But I've been helped along the way. I've had many mentors that have helped me. There's a group called the Alliance of Business Immigration Lawyers, ABLE, that I was a founding member of. So they're like 20 lawyers just like me, practices kind of like mine. Many of them have grown their practices even bigger. People like Bernie Wallstorf, for example, or Foster down in Houston. But the ability to share information, the ability to run best practices, even just to get ideas on what holiday gifts to get employees.
Mm.
All those, how do you do bonuses in a practice? How do you judge raises? How do you give raises to people? What raises should you give? How do you recruit properly? When do you get rid of somebody? All of that, you pick up through osmosis because there's really no way to learn that. An interesting anecdote, because I've been teaching immigration law at Emory now for 12 years. And I teach three classes. I teach a business class, an asylum refugee class, and then the survey class.
Ooh, that's a lot
And
of.
I asked one of my kids, and I said in the class, do you take a class on how to be a lawyer? I mean, I didn't. I mean, I'm sure you didn't in your class, how to be a lawyer. So I proposed a class to Emory this like 2 months ago. I reached out to the dean and I said, look, you guys don't teach a class on how to be lawyers. You should be doing that. I mean, that's a favor that you should be doing to your students. How to be a lawyer in a big firm, how to be a lawyer in a small firm, how to start your own practice. And I gave him a syllabus. Here's what I could do. And I haven't heard back. Because I'd love to teach a class like that. I think that's perhaps the most important thing that you could learn in law school.
Mm-hmm.
Because the information for example, you go to law school and you take my immigration class. When you leave, you can't be an immigration lawyer. You're not going to learn how to be an immigration lawyer. What do you remember from contracts? Offer and consideration,
Yeah.
property, the rule against perpetuities. I have no knowledge of any of those areas, even though I took them 40 years ago. But if you learn how to bill a client, how to do interviews with a client, how to market a business, how to keep track of time at a big firm, how to interview, those will stay with you the rest of your life. And I learned this, frankly, through my son. My son who's not a lawyer, my son who's an eye doctor. His school had mandatory 2 semesters of how to run a practice. 2 semesters. The business side of the practice was mandatory schooling.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness, why aren't lawyers doing this? Because after all, what are we? Right? We're problem solvers, but we're also business people. Especially when you run a practice, right? I don't know how many employees you have, but I'm a small business. I have 40 employees. That's big. I'm almost at the 50-person threshold at that
For
point.
immigration law, that's huge. That's like
Yeah. So that's a big practice. So how do I've educated myself. I've been to a dozen seminars. I've read all the business books. But the reality, that base education, and then my dad had a small business growing up, but that base education would have been so useful going into this.
I was teaching at Pepperdine as adjunct professor of immigration there, and I was carve
I
out.
love Pepperdine, by the way. Great campus.
Great location. Then when COVID happened, I had to do it from home from Zoom. I'm like, well, what's the plan now? I was looking forward to going to Malibu. Sorry, my kid's screaming in the back. I gotta go get him. But I would carve out the first 20 minutes, just talk about business operations. And there's a lot of students that eyes would kind of roll over. They were interested in immigration stuff, but it's like so important. I'm like, this is more important than the law, because you'll learn the law. This stuff's hard to find. You got to like really search for it. I'm just going to give it to you like this. And kind of the immigration lawyers toolbox, a part of that is have this kind of stuff to help immigration lawyers get up and running. Because just learning marketing, operations, all this kind of stuff. I'm learning it right now as I'm expanding my firm and hiring. And it's just like you lose sleep over, and I think what I'm supposed to do. If I have to fire somebody, that's like always stressful experience. And it's like any guidance on this is so beautiful.
I think it's vital. And for lawyers, it's really, really important, because not every, how many lawyers in a class at Emory are going to work for big law? 10, 20, maybe. What about the rest? Well, you're going to small law, maybe you're going into nonprofit law, or maybe you're just throwing up a shingle. That's the great power of being a lawyer. You don't need an employer. You just need to throw up a shingle.
Yeah.
Boom, you're in business. There you go. Now, we all know crappy lawyers who do that, but we know a lot of great lawyers who have done that.
Yeah.
Because they learned how to do it. And you might want to stay small and say, look, I just want to work out of my house, or I want to work out of I just want it always to be me. Okay, well, that's still a business. You still have to learn how to do stuff. You still have to learn how to set up your 401k. You still have to learn how to get the right computers. You have to learn how to market yourself, and all those things are vitally important today, and it's all different. So when I started, how to do a great Yellow Pages ad. That's the first ads I did, right? Yellow Pages. Well, what are people today? What are the Yellow Pages? What are those things?